everyone, welcome back to Crash City. This week, we have from Danganronpa to Digimon, from Tenkai Nights to Les Mis. We have a man who has gotten to do so many cool things in his entire life. We have Brian Beacock here. How are you?
Hello. Nice intro there. Some cool things. Tenkai Nights. I haven't heard that in a while.
Oh, when I saw that you voiced a character on there, I was like, oh my God, I remember that when I was a child.
Yeah.
It was wild. So most people, they're already going to freak out and be like, oh my God, you're a voice actor, this, that, and the other. I want to actually talk about your live action stuff before we get into that.
Right.
The one-man show that I've been reading so much on, I want to know what this is.
So I was doing a lot of theater when I moved to LA. I did Les Misérables, the tour of Les Misérables in San Francisco, got my union card. That brought me to LA, right? And then I got a job at Universal Studios in the Beetlejuice show, singing and dancing, blah, blah, blah. So I was doing a lot of theater, and I auditioned for this play called Fully Committed, which is, it's a one-man show. I played about 40 different characters on stage, hour and a half, no break. And it's crazy. It's York restaurant reservation clerk, and so he's always on the phone and he's playing the voices of all the people he's talking to in addition to his own voice. So it's rapid fire back and forth, crazy. I remember learning it. A friend of mine is doing it right now, and I'm like, I don't know that I could do it right now at my age. I don't know that my brain would even remember all that dialogue, right? But it was a lot of fun, and because of that show, actually, I was working with Mary Elizabeth McGlynn at Universal. She was in Beetlejuice with me as well. And she saw me in the play and she said, obviously you can do voices and stuff. Why don't you come audition for this new show I'm casting, which was Digimon? And so Fully Committed led to my voiceover career, like directly because of that play.
Yeah, when I saw that, I was like, that's such a weird happenstance that play led to you voicing in one of the biggest franchises in anime, which is the Digimon. You do Agumon in the video games, and then Takato in Tamers, right?
Yeah, I'm Takato in Tamers, and then I went on to season 4, which was Frontier, and I was Bokomon, little guy who keeps a book in his pants, Bokomon. And then I was Agumon in season 5. So not the first Agumon, but I was Data Squad Agumon.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
And I mean, even everything that you've gotten to do also in live action. I mean, it says that you were a musical guest for Conan O'Brien, for Jay Leno. Like, can I hear a little bit of those stories?
Yeah, so Conan O'Brien was, again, because of a play. I was doing a musical in LA at the Roxy Theater on Sunset Boulevard, which a bunch of rock and roll people play there. And it was a musical about Guns N' Roses. And so I played like a Gilbert and Sullivan style Axel Rose, and it was all about the 80s rock scene, right? So Conan O'Brien saw us at the Aspen Comedy Festival and said, you guys would be great on my show. So we flew out to New York to do a production of the show. But while we were there, Conan said, why don't you guys do a number on my show? And if you go to YouTube and you Google Brian Beacock, White Trash Wins Lotto, that's the name of the show, White Trash Wins Lotto, on Conan O'Brien, you'll see the show. It was amazing, terrifying. It was terrifying, right? So like literally we recorded the show that day and then went to do the show at night. So it was a true like New York actor experience. And then for Jay Leno, I had a friend who knew the producers, and Betty White was having a birthday and she was going to be on the show. And they needed 4 guy singers to kind of like recreate her theme song from her first TV show she did back in the 40s or 50s. So I booked that, and that was a blast. Got to meet Jay and of course Betty, and it was just life changing, just life changing. All of a sudden you're like, you're at home in LA and you're doing whatever, odd jobs, and then you're on television,
Yeah.
And then when that's over, you go back to like, driving for Uber or, folding envelopes or whatever you do for your life. Like the showbiz life is so cyclical and up and down that you just have to kind of like enjoy it while you got it, because it won't always be there.
I love talking to voice actors and figuring out what you guys do outside of just the anime and the video games, because it's always interesting to me. Just of course everybody's like, you played this character that I loved or that I remember, and I'm like, okay, but do they know that you sang for Betty White? Do they know that you did a 40-man, one-man show? Do they know all of that? And that's what I get excited for, because I'm like, oh my God, how? Like, how does that happen?
I have a deeper cut that you may not know about, but also to like make ends meet. So while I was doing Digimon and Bleach and Naruto and stuff, I was singing and dancing at Universal all the time, right? That was like my day job. Then I was doing the voiceover. But what I was also doing for about 10 years was I was on tour in the costume of Barney the Dinosaur.
Really?
Yeah. So the TV costume. So I didn't do the TV show, but I was in that terrible like 1980s manufactured torture chamber that is Barney the Dinosaur. So yeah, while I was doing Naruto and Bleach, I was, singing and dancing at the, Pensacola State Fair as Barney the Dinosaur.
That's crazy.
It's so weird. But that's me. Like, I'm just a weirdo for work. Like, I'll do whatever, Work is work to me.
So what did you do in Universal? Like, what sections of the park did you work for?
I did a lot, actually. So I started there in the main part of the park doing shows. So I did the Beetlejuice's Rockin' Graveyard Revue, singing and dancing, 5 shows a day, blah, blah, blah. Did that for like 15 years. But then I did a drum show like Stomp. I was a host of the special effects show. And then I was also the musical director for the Blues Brothers show. So I did that as well. And then I went on to do Fear Factor. I did the Spider-Man Rock show. I did the Mummy Maze. I did the Shrek show. I was there forever.
Did you do a lot of the Halloween Horror Nights stuff too?
Yeah, if you saw, they did a Fear Factor Halloween Horror Nights.
Yes.
And I played Satan, a very like flamboyant, crazy devil.
That's cool.
And then it was on the Fear Factor set. It was very fun. Yeah, man. I was in that park forever. Yeah.
Does it feel like, how does that feel, especially like somebody me that I'm super just interested in the fact that you got to do all that? Do you ever just look back and you're like, wow, this was a crazy time in my life?
I do. And in fact, before I moved to LA, so my family, we would drive to LA all the time every summer, go to Disneyland, Magic Mountain, Universal, whatever. And so I saw the Beetlejuice show as a teenager. Before I ever moved to LA, before Les Mis, and I'm like, man, I would love to do something like this. So literally seeing the show and then years later being in it was really kind of like a full circle moment for me. But yeah, I can look back at what I've done and say, this is crazy. Like, what a crazy life, But as actors, not even voice actors, but as actors, like, we're always striving for something more, something bigger, something different, whatever. And that's where I am right now. I'm looking for something new and something big, but I'm certainly grateful for everything that I had.
And you've been around the block for about 20 years is what it said. You've been doing all of this, how did it feel hearing your voice in like the video game aspect for like Agumon and all that kind of stuff? How did that feel? And then also becoming the face literally of Danganronpa.
Well, the funny thing is, like, I'm like, I'm 8-track, I'm analog, like that's my world. So when I was doing probably like Tales of Symphonia, I was Lloyd Irving, and I did the Digimon games. I still only had an Atari. Like, I didn't have a new gaming system, right? So unless someone else was playing the game, I never really heard my voice in those games until like decades later. So the biggest thing where I really like sat down and listened to and played a video game that I was in was Danganronpa. And and it was kind of cool. I mean, I don't know if you're familiar with the game, and no spoilers, whatever, but Monokuma takes a long time to show up in that first game. And I'm a terrible gamer, so I'm like, what? Come on, get me out of the garbage room. Like, where am I? But I'm having a lot of fun listening to me play that.
So how many times do you, especially on the convention scene, do you have people come up and ask you, the basic first question, because I hear it every time I go to a convention, I can hear it at people's tables. how do I become a voice actor? Like, how many times do you hear that?
Yeah, all the time. In fact, my friend Tara Sands, she's actually like printed up little business cards with her answers.
That's
like,
awesome.
Here you go. So, because a lot of us, because we're good friends with, D. Bradley Baker.
Yes.
So he's the voice of Klaus the Goldfish on American Dad, and he's in Star Wars and all that stuff. Anyway, he was a Beetlejuice at Universal as well before he became a big voice actor. So I worked with him at Universal. But he has a website, iwanttobeavoiceactor.com, which is a really good, like, introductory, here's some tips and tricks and demos and agents and all that stuff. So that's kind of where I direct people. Tony Oliver has a website, adventuresinvoiceacting.com. Steve Bloom teaches classes. But as far as like my story, like I just told you, you can't say, well, get cast in a 40 character one-man show, right? It's not going to happen. And the industry keeps changing too. So like even the way that some of us got into it or made it is different now. Social media, Discord servers, like it's a different world. And I'm still struggling. I'm still struggling to get work. We all are, most of my work right now is returning Blue Exorcist, Bleach, shows coming back, Bungo Stray Dogs, Danganronpa. But getting that new stuff, especially living in LA, most of the anime's gone to Texas, it's tough.
I love asking this too, and I want your answer on this, because I've already asked Corey J. Phillips and Bill Millsap, but how did the pandemic affect you and your career going from what it used to be voice acting to now?
Mine's a little different, I think. At that time, my mom was getting sick. She lived up in San Francisco, which is like 350 miles from where I am. And so I've been making that trip like my whole life, right? From LA to home. So I moved up there and kind of like lived with her and took care of her. And anytime there was voice work, I would come back to my apartment here in LA. So that was a good aspect, if there is any good aspect of COVID, right? I got to spend more time with my mom. I don't record remotely. My apartment's old. It never had great Wi-Fi, so I never had a booth to record. So I had to wait for the Screen Actors Guild, the unions, the Board of Health, whatever, to say that it was clear to go into a studio to record. So, and it happened. I went in, I did that. The biggest change was the conventions that disappeared. That was really hard. That's where a lot of money was lost. But while I was doing that, working sporadically, whatever, I was also doing subtitles for ABC and Disney. That was like another day job I had, and that was remote work. Until about 2 years ago, where AI took over and took the job away. I've been doing it for 10 years. So at least I had that during the pandemic. I was just sitting home watching, Wizards of Waverly Place in German, whatever. That's what I did.
So that is a good thing to touch on too. How much do you think AI is going to affect the way that voice actors now have to audition for their roles, the same way somebody has to put in a resume, and 90% of the time now it doesn't even see a human, it goes through an AI filter? Do you think that we're going to get to the point?
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping that producers worth their salt and companies worth their salt, if there are any, while it may go through some kind of like aggregator or filter like that, will still like have human eyeballs and human ears on a resume or a demo. But I just saw something the other day on Twitter that was, I don't think it was necessarily for voice acting, but it was like, change your presentation. Like if I was on camera doing like a TED Talk or whatever, and you could change it to any language, and it was going to change your mouth and change your audio and your voice, like translate it to any language, right? And all these people were saying, "Oh, this is amazing! This is great!" I'm like,
that's horrifying.
Block, so it's not just the audition process, and I hadn't even thought about what you said about how it's going to go through like an AI filter, right? But just the work, like having the jobs go to a robot instead of an actor. What was the show that just had that issue? Was it it's not Yellowfish, it was something like that. It was a new series that got AI dubbed. And
really?
Yeah, and Damon Mills, a friend of mine, a really popular voice actor. He just got the new season of JoJo. He was really public about it on social media, and they got rid of it. They're going to dub it, you know, with real people. But, you know, that's kind of like the floodgates opening. So I don't know. I don't think we know exactly what it's going to be. And I don't like to run around like my hair's on fire, but we just don't know what it is yet, right? So you can only be cautious.
It's a weird time, especially when I first asked the question to like Corey J. I was like, hey man, how did the pandemic affect you? And he was like, well, I love going and now I have to stay in a booth. And now it's turning into staying in a booth and potentially not even seeing another human being until probably having to actually go and to the studio. You know, that's something in your industry I think people don't take too much for granted, because we get excited. We're like, man, you guys voice these amazing characters, but the amount of work and the amount of, you know, struggle that goes into it, I don't think any of us truly understand.
It's a lot. And you touched on a really important thing that I'm kind of dealing with now. I was auditioning for a couple of like on-camera things, a new TV show, a movie, whatever. And it used to be you would drive over to the Sony lot, you drive to Universal, even if it's like for an under 5 lines in a movie or a TV show. And you then have the opportunity for a casting director, if they like you, if you're the right type, you know, whatever, you fit the suit, whatever, they have the opportunity to say to you, that was great, but how about you make a little tweak to it, a little twist, right? And you do it in real time. And then you then show them, I can adjust. I'm a smart actor. I know how to behave. I know how to deal with people, you know, face to face. When you're dealing with auditions from home, having nothing to do with AI, just when we're told to basically direct ourselves and submit a choice, the casting people may get so many options. They're like, maybe he's right, but this guy probably is right. Let's just take him. So you don't even get a chance to like adjust or prove your worth, right? And that kind of came from COVID, but it was happening a little bit before that too. So I really miss being in the room, both for voiceovers and for on-camera stuff.
I had a conversation about that in a couple of past episodes. I can't remember which one, but we were talking about that, how, you know, you guys typically for voice acting, you guys really don't know, unless you know the source material, what they're kind of looking for. But you have that chance. Back in the day, you had that chance to prove yourself. Now, sometimes you'll have a voice actor, mostly a younger one, come in and they've already mentally prepared themselves, but they're not as coachable compared to what it was.
Completely, yeah. You can be. I mean, I've had people do this in theater too. Like they audition great, and then then they get the job, and that's what the show is. Like you cannot direct them or change them or whatever. So that's part of what the audition process and being in the room does, right? And you can submit like take A and take B sometimes for a voiceover, right? But it really is kind of, you know, especially for anime, we are already performing in a straitjacket with handcuffs on, you know, with the lip flap restriction, but the audition process is the same way.
So, you know, when we were having like the writer's strike, and then, you know, the Actors Guild was on strike also at the same time, and all of this stuff was going on. For people like me on the outside, we don't really know what was going on or how big that affects and just puts a pause on everything. But say another one happens like that, typically what shuts down, and what does that look like for you guys?
It depends. So like, I think with the latest actor strike, it didn't affect games. So you could still do video games. Probably a lot of non-union work would continue. The writer's strike happened years ago. It was like 2008, 2009. And that kind of like led to the burst growth or whatever of reality television, right? So that started that. So, you know, it's like, what can we blame, you know, YouTube for? Justin Timberlake. No. Not Justin Timberlake. Who's the Canadian?
Justin Bieber?
Justin Bieber. Yeah. That's YouTube's fault. So who knows what another strike would do? But we just got through this other one. And, you know, it was like the Screen Actors Guild really held on to AI protections, right? I kind of think in reality, the people that got the AI protections are like the top 2% of performers, like, you know, the on-camera folks.
Yeah.
You know, people at my level, a little bit higher, a little bit lower, we're still going to struggle with contracts and legalities and loopholes and all that stuff. It just is what it is.
So, especially with, like, you guys, you said, you know, and I see it with other voice actors too, is social media seems to be something that you guys just, it doesn't seem like something you guys don't want to do. It's just, it's not at the forefront of y'all's heads. Why is that?
Gosh, it's so interesting. You know, this was years ago, but when television was casting for like on-camera guest stars or under fives or whatever, they were looking at people's follower count because it was a way to get free advertisement for their show. If you had like 1 million followers, those people are going to watch whatever you do, right? So they save money on advertising by having people that have a lot of followers. And then also episodic television, they were putting it in the contracts where some of the actors had to live tweet during episodes. So it's been going on for a while, right? So it's part of the, you know, it's part of the landscape. I don't particularly dislike it. I like connecting with people on social media. I think it helps my convention booking. And then it also makes the interaction with people when I finally do meet them in person at the cons really cool as well. I love that. But some people, they're either not tech savvy or they've been burned from social media for whatever reason. There's a lot of haters, a lot of hate, right? I have pretty thick skin, but I've also been really lucky with my followers. They're good people. I don't know, but I think it is part of the world right now. It's part of auditioning, and then it's part of promoting, right? Yeah. So it's part of creating your brand. We used to send out 8x10 headshots to agents, and now it's YouTube and you know, websites and all that stuff. That's just where we are.
When you go to conventions, do you typically do panels, or are you just at your table all day? Like, what for you, especially because you have such a wide variety of characters?
Yeah.
What do you do at a convention typically?
So years ago, I wanted to book a convention. So I was like trying to sell myself. So I said, hey, I've got this great like PowerPoint. I do a big PowerPoint with music and photo. I didn't know how to do a PowerPoint. I didn't have a PowerPoint. So I made one. I figured it out. So depending on what the con wants to do, some conventions want you to sit at your table. If you've got a guarantee, you got to make this amount of money in 2 days. They don't want to pull you away for an hour and have you do a panel, right? So you have to make money. If you have a lower guarantee, then you probably have time. You can go do panels, which I really like to do. And I'll do a panel by myself, or I'll do it with a couple of other actors. I like that. Or sometimes I'll host karaoke, or you do like a VIP meet and greet, which I really enjoy as well. But other than that, man, I'm at my table the whole time. Like,
okay.
Yeah, I'm a table guy, because years ago I would do cons and they're like, all right, your signing time is like from 10 to 11 and 2 to 4. But what about the people that show up at 5? Or, you know what I mean? Like, I think that sucks that there's a chance that people could miss you because you're not there, you know, for scheduling reasons. So beginning to end, I'm at my table.
I can't think of the gentleman's name. He was so cool. He does the voice for the Scooby-Doo movies, the animated ones, and he was such a good guy.
Yeah, it's not Bill. Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
I'm gonna have my editor just put it up and just
there you go.
Scooby-Doo font for me. But when I was going to a convention, he did something I've never really seen. He was kind of away from his booth, and he was just at a regular, just regular table, bar stools and all, and people were passing him. And I was like, how do you not recognize this man? And so I think that's something cool. Oh yeah, I went up to him. I gave him a hug. I was like, thank you so much. Can you tell me which Scooby-Doo you like? He told me which one he liked. I was like, my heart broke. It wasn't the one I liked, but I like when you guys do things like that. Like when you guys will go out to the convention floor, or when you guys will just, you know, try to be with the fans. Is that something that like the fan interactions too, especially with your community, man, like just like your fan base, your followers, your community, like how did that usually go?
It's great, and it's always surprising. You know, I was really fortunate the last couple of years. I went to Ireland, and of course I go to the UK a lot. I'm going next week. I've gone to the Netherlands. I've gone to Australia, New Zealand, Latvia. I went to the Baltics last year in Latvia. I was their first ever voice. It's crazy, right? So to have people, because of social media, because of this World Wide Web, right? The world is not as big anymore, right? It's a smaller community. So it's amazing when people come up to you and you're like, yeah, I used to watch your show when I was a kid, and you know, you're in Germany, right? It's really cool. It's very humbling, and I make sure that the fan interaction is like, it's key. Like this may be the only con they go to. Who knows, right?
Yeah.
They may be my biggest fan. And I just want to make sure that even if they don't buy anything, they don't have to buy anything. We can do a handshake, a hug, whatever, just have a conversation. I just want to make sure that they go away happy. So I take a lot of responsibility and pride in that. So it's important.
How many of them come up to you and they're a fan, and then they say something like the research I had to do, where it's not even anime based at the beginning? And does it happen a lot?
Not a lot, but when it does, it's like, it's amazing. I did a TV show called Acting Dead, and we won an Emmy for it, and blah blah blah. It's all about zombies, right? And so this was a couple cons ago. I'm not sure which state I was in, but a girl came up and she had one of my production show shirts, like she had gotten on eBay. Like someone on my team had gotten rid of it. So she had that, and then she had like a pin, those moving buttons that play video of my show playing on the button.
That's awesome.
She's like a huge fan of the show. It was so niche and weird, and that was amazing. And then a lot of times people will bring up like a DVD of a game or a TV show that's not very popular that I forget. You know, I have to Google myself. And that's kind of fun too. And a couple times I've been like, wait a minute, I have to research this because maybe you're wrong. But they're always right. They always know more than I do. And like I forgot I was in Toradora. Do you know Toradora?
Toradora, yes.
Yeah, I totally forgot about it. But they're like, here, would you sign this for me? Yeah, it's cool. It's really awesome. But I mean, fans always know more than the actors. That's for sure.
Yeah, even the way when I said Tenkai Nights, you were like, man, I haven't heard that in forever. And I'm like, yeah, that's something I love.
That was a fun show. It was sad too, because that show was really dependent on toy sales to keep the show going, and the toys didn't sell as much as they would have liked. And like little Lego bricks, they were cool. But that was a fun show to do.
See, it's just things like that, man, where it's interesting to see what your name is attached to, and then how it goes, but how it affected people when they were younger or they were little.
And it's different too. Like I went to New Zealand about 20 years ago, 18 years ago, and I was in a show called Battle Beat-A-Mon. You ever heard of that?
Battle Beat-A-Mon. Is that the shooter?
It's like the little marble shooter thing.
Yes, I had some of those.
I played Yamato Delgado, and America, it was like sort of popular, whatever. It was like the biggest show in New Zealand. It was like
that's cool.
So I got there, it was like the Beatles, you know, they whisked me away to this live TV show and all that stuff. But I was not used to it. I was like, I don't know what to talk about. Like, no one ever asks about this show in the US. So it's just weird.
That's so cool. I like hearing that. That's awesome.
I have all the toys too. I have all the original Digimon toys and all the original Battle Beat-A-Mon toys in a box in my bedroom, marked eBay, but I'm never going to sell it.
That's so cool. I love that. I love that so much. But it's just those things too, where you never know who you're going to affect. And has there ever been a fan that's kind of affected you in a certain, like a good interaction that affected you in a certain way?
Yeah, a lot of them. I've been really fortunate to have some really cool stories, and you know, had they turned out another way, not so cool stories. You know what I mean? But some people that really were affected by not just me, but the show. Right at a certain time in their life, either dealing with parents or school kids or just whatever, and hearing how our job is probably more important to a lot of people than it appears to us just on the surface level, right? And that's really cool. And now I'm also seeing like older people that are introducing their kids to the stuff that I was in, you know. So now the kid and the adult come to my table, you know. Yeah, we're watching Digimon, big fan, whatever, Dragon Ball, and so it's cool, and we don't get that kind of feedback or realization if we don't do the conventions, right? So it's such an isolating job. We're in a booth with a director and an engineer, and it's not like being on stage. You don't get the feedback from the audience unless you do the cons, and then you really get to find out that the work means something to somebody.
Do you miss do you ever just sit there and you miss, you know, the touring life like you had with Les Mis?
Yeah, I mean, it does get repetitive, obviously. The last play I did was I don't know, it's pre-COVID by a couple years. I did 3 months of a show in Boston, and that was fun. But I realized that what I really do like is like soap operas or television, where you do it and then you're done. As far as like the dialogue, right? The scenes, doing the same thing over and over and over again. I've done it, but I'm ready to move on to something different. So.
Okay. Like, and then, you know, did you ever, when you were working for Universal, did you ever try to go over to the other side and try to work at Disney?
Yeah, I got cast in Hunchback of Notre Dame. It was the Disney musical. They were doing a live action. I got cast as Clopin, who's kind of like the narrator character. But it was just a summer show at Disney, and I would have had to have given up my full-time job at Universal. So it was like, do you want to go work at Disney for 3 months and then not have a job, or stay at Universal? So I turned it down. Also, too, by that time I had kind of like grown to realize like how Universal works, and, you know, like how the sausage is made. And I really loved Disney, and I didn't want to like kind of like tarnish the glow on what I thought Disney was, right? So, I mean, I knew from friends, but I wanted to keep that, you know, that fantasy going with Disney.
And then what is a project that you see even modern day right now that you were like, man, that is something I would love to be a part of?
Oh gosh, so much. Well, I just auditioned for The Traitors, for the next season of The Traitors. If you know that show.
Yeah.
I want to be on that show. I auditioned for Amazing Race as well. I can't do Big Brother, and I can't do Survivor. That's not fun. But I'd love to be in those. Oh gosh, I don't know. I mean, for voice acting, I'd like to be in a continuous game like Genshin.
Yeah.
Like a constantly going game. I think that'd be fun, right? And just something really big, you know, One Piece, Jujutsu Kaisen, Attack on Titan. You know, I was lucky enough when I started my career to get a bunch of like these legacy shows, you know, Bleach, Naruto, Durarara, Digimon. Those are like legacy shows, right? And I was really lucky. It was just luck at the draw. But right now, I think I'd like to get another biggie, you know, a new one. So it's just hustling for that.
It like just tons of different experiences with you guys, and you guys all have such similar but different careers. You know, you have somebody who's known for primarily one character, and that's all they're going to be known for. And then you have guys who are known for being in almost every show. It's a weird lifestyle for you guys, and for the, you know, just show business. Like what advice would you give to somebody who's young, like either in high school or early 20s, and they're like, man, I want to do this?
Don't age. No. Right. I would definitely say, and everyone, a lot of voice actors would say the same thing, like take acting classes, like put acting as the prime focus, regardless of where you want to display that craft on stage, on camera, or with your voice, right? Take acting classes. And then for me, what was really beneficial was like improv classes, comedy classes, singing classes, like get that kind of under your belt. So that's why theater really helped. And then at this point also learn tech. Like learn how to use your laptop and your mic. What else? Yeah, take classes. And also, like, universally, I'm really big on just trying not to take no for an answer. Like, I think it's important to listen to what people have to say as far as criticisms and critiques and instruction, but also we live in a world right now where there's so much content that whatever your skills or your gifts are, or whatever the things that are detrimental to you, there's ways of navigating those, right? So if you really want to be a voice actor, you really want to be a cosplay artist or whatever, just do it. And get rid of the noise, get rid of the haters, and just do it.
I think it comes down to learning the difference in types of no's, whether it just be a solid no, okay, that person just, you're not going to get it, versus no, you need to work on this, get better, talk to me later.
Yeah. I used to say, any closed door, it just means that there's a window open somewhere else. So go through the window. not to promote breaking in, but
it's a good way of saying it too, because it's something that you guys probably have dealt with so many times, where you got to know and you're just sitting there and you're wondering why, and then you got to know and you're like, oh, I actually got to work on this and this before I can come back.
For sure. Or realizing, like you're not a singer, right? So, or realizing, well, I'm not going to be in a musical, but I can do this or I can do that. Like pivot in the same world, being multi-hyphenate, like writing, singing, producing, voice acting has been really helpful on like my psyche. So when I can't get one gig, I usually can get a different gig that I'm just as passionate about. So that's really helped me in my entire career.
And then directing, we haven't really talked about directing. Is that kind of something you're thinking about next, or is it, like, what are we going to do with that?
Yeah, so when I was doing like my TV shows and stuff like that, I was mainly producing, executive producing, writing. I hired directors for my shows. Voice directing, I would not want to do. It's a really, really interesting combination of technical and creative, right? The lip flaps, the time code, all that stuff. And it just doesn't seem fun to me. I mean, maybe it is, but like, I have no desire to do it. I'd almost rather be an engineer than be a director. Like, I think it'd be a good engineer, right?
Yeah.
But producing is really big on me, like executive producing, being on set, writing new lines when lines aren't working, and all that stuff is kind of like a passion of mine.
And then you said your zombie show, it was a web series, wasn't it?
It was a web series, yeah. And then it got entered because it was the first year that the Emmys allowed short form content into the Emmys. So my actress, Patricia Darbo, won Best Actress in a short form comedy.
So say everything all the stars are aligning, especially with the way that, like, social or YouTube and everything's going back. Would that be something you would want to hit again? Another web series?
For sure. And I have season 2 already plotted out. It's just, getting funding is really tough. Even when you have an Emmy, even when you've got an Emmy, it's tough to get people to pay attention to you and listen to you, right? You need to have 10 Emmys. So I don't know. I don't know if I'll do season 2 of Acting Dead or not, or whether I'll move on to something else. But it's definitely, I've got one project that's in the works with my producing partner, but we're both dealing with kind of like other things right now. So we'll probably focus on that around September of this year.
Which, it's crazy because it's a web series and you guys won an Emmy for it.
Yeah.
And if you were to tell people back then that a movie was going to be shot on an iPhone and released in 2026, nobody would believe you.
Exactly right. And, we did, ours was lower budget, whatever. People got paid. It was union, but it was a low budget thing, right? And it was just kind of like the stars aligned to make it eligible, and the fact that we won, and we were up against like The Walking Dead and things on YouTube Red, and like it was tough competition. So it was, that night was probably one of the biggest nights of my life. I got to take my mom to the Emmys. That was a blast. Do the red carpet. Like she was loving it. She was loving it.
I think it's cool too, getting to see, like you saying, that's something that if everything aligns, we're definitely going to do it, because a movie, this is going to come out next month, but this episode will come out next month. But Undertone, it's doing great right now, and it only costs a small percentage of what it's already made. And especially with movies like Iron Lung, which was done by Markiplier, huge YouTuber, projects can be done if if you're just passionate enough now. And I think that's where we're heading is we're going in a way where it's okay to not have giant equipment as long as the story's good.
And that started with the advent of like the DSLRs, you know, like a decade or more ago, right? That people were filming on those things, right? Suddenly the equipment was affordable to everyone, and then it was all about the creative. But now we have the risk of not even needing the creative because you're just running it through Chat GPT, right? So
yeah,
the monsters are taking over at this point. So
yeah, and that's gonna be that's a topic I always love to talk to people that I'm on the fence where I'm like, in 5 years, it's really going to be the make or break point because of how much it costs for AI to exist. Is like, if we can't bring the costs down, there's no point in having it. And we'll have this section of history where we're like, wow, that was weird.
That was
a weird
weird
time.
Yeah. Singing cats and all that stuff.
Yeah. Social media was run by videos of actors not actually doing any of this stuff at all, and it was a weird time, and I think that's where we're going to end up. But as we begin to wind down, you know, where are your social media, where everybody can find you?
So yeah, you can find me on Instagram at Brian Beacock. I'm also on X, just when I find out when there's Los Angeles earthquakes. That's at Brian Beacock. And then TikTok is like my main account, really, and that's Monokuma Brian B.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, this was my conversation with the great, the fantastic Brian Beacock. Thank you again for being here. Oh, he's got the bear! Oh, I love that. You guys can catch all of his stuff on his socials, and we will see each and every one of you in our next adventures. Bye, guys.
See ya.
All right. Thank you again.